beautiful friend. Welcome back to another episode where we dive deep into the truth about our minds, our hearts, and our incredible capacity for healing. I'm your host, your electrolyte-sipping, drummer girl-kicking, and confidant, Karey Smith. And I'm so happy and delighted you're here with me today because I have something to talk to you about that's so close to my heart. We're talking about depression, but maybe not in the way you might expect. We're going to shatter some myths today, share some incredible life-changing science, and if you're okay with it, I'm going to open up about my own journey from that dark place of never feeling enough. Not pretty enough, slim enough, tough enough, what else? Funny enough, talented enough, humble enough. I sincerely want to help you understand the incredible power we all have within us to rewire our brains and transform our lives, especially if you've ever had moments of sadness or depression, or know someone who's struggled with it. And honestly, I've not met anyone yet that hasn't had at least some period of time where they struggled. It's just normal, my friend. I believe this subject is so important because in doing some of my own research for today, I found out that depression is the second most searched mental health term on the internet, first being anxiety. So we know there are many people struggling with this, and I want to offer you some thoughts and truth and helpful information for you. So grab your favorite cup. It's all about the cup, my friend. Pour some coffee, tea, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey together. Before we dive in, let's address the elephant in the room. For decades, we've heard that depression is just a chemical imbalance in the brain and that we need medication to fix it. We've been told our brains are broken and we need pills to be balanced. But here's the emerging truth from top psychologists and researchers like Dr. Joanna Moncrief and Dr. Caroline Leaf that idea has been debunked. Major reviews, even one in molecular psychiatry, found no convincing evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin or other chemical imbalances. Research also revealed that the most of antidepressants' effects come from placebo responses, not chemical correction, and benefits are minimal for many people. I know this can be tough to hear. Hearing "it's not your fault" gives relief and feels safe, a story we hold on to. We wear that explanation like a badge. I'm not faulty. I have a disease. But I invite you to open your mind and heart to this. The chemical imbalance story was never true, and knowing that truth can be your doorway to freedom, a path towards deeper, more meaningful healing. The chemical imbalance story was never proven to begin with. It was a hypothesis that became marketed as fact. Think about this for a moment. There's never been a test that can measure the correct level of serotonin in your brain. There's no blood test, no brain scan that can tell a doctor, aha, your serotonin is too low. That's why you're depressed. In 2022, a comprehensive review analyzing decades of research and found no convincing evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin levels or any chemical imbalance. Doctors stated that this idea had been influential for decades, but the evidence is just not there. Dr. Caroline Leaf has also been saying this for years in her research. She points out that when we look at brain scans of people with depression, what we actually see are changes in brain structure and activity patterns. But these changes are a result of repeated negative and toxic thought patterns, not the cause of them. This might be the first time you've heard this. It has been proven, it's just not in the mainstream media because it disrupts the narrative and yes, probably costs pharmaceutical industries millions. And I know this might be tough to hear. Trust me, I get it. I see you, I understand. People have their own story and their own circumstances. Here's what I've discussed with others. Many people do feel better when taking antidepressants, but it's not because they correct a chemical imbalance. Instead, simply taking a pill can give a mental lift, often to start shifting entrenched negative thoughts and behaviors. SSRIs can numb emotions, which often leads to less sadness and then we assume that must be real healing. But true healing happens when we go deeper, unpacking thought patterns, belief, and neural wiring. We address the root of our pain, not just mask symptoms. We need to understand what depression really is and where it actually comes from. Because here's the beautiful truth. If depression isn't a fixed chemical problem, that means you have far more power over it than you've been told, and the ability to get better is in your hands, and it can start today. So, if depression isn't a chemical imbalance, then what is it? Let me share what I've learned from years of studying the brilliant work of pioneers in understanding the mind-body connection. Depression is a signal, a symptom of deeper patterns in our thinking, our neural networks, and our belief systems. It's our brain's way of saying something needs attention here. Think of it like a check engine light in your car. The light isn't the problem. It's alerting you to something that needs to be addressed under the hood. Something else I've discovered in years of research and learning that blew my mind, mostly because no one had ever taught me this fact, that our thoughts are real. They are actual physical structures in our brain. This isn't metaphorical. This is measurable, observable science, and it's amazing. Every time we think a thought, we build a neural pathway. When we think the same thoughts repeatedly, especially negative, self-defeating thoughts, we strengthen those pathways, deepen those pathways until they become like superhighways in our brain. Another fascinating thing about thoughts is that a healthy, positive thought looks like a beautiful tree with leaves and deep roots, and negative thoughts look kind of like a gnarly, black, dying tree, one you'd probably seen in a Halloween photo. It's not pretty. So we know that our brain is affected by the kinds of thoughts we have every moment of every day. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your brain is like a field of fresh snow. The first time you walk across it, you leave footprints. If you walk the same path again and again, you create a well-worn trail. Eventually, that trail becomes so deep and well-established that it's just the easiest path to take, even when it's not where you want to go. Depression often develops when we walk the same negative thought patterns so many times that our brain automatically goes there without any other choice. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be happy, nothing ever works out for me, or I'm just broken. Even just saying the words, I'm sad, or I'm depressed, or I have depression, can negatively impact our mind, brain, and body. We have physiological effects almost immediately. These thought patterns don't just affect our mood, they affect our entire physiology. When we think depressive thoughts, we trigger a cascade of stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this chronic stress response affects our immune system, our sleep patterns, our digestion, even our posture, and the way we move throughout the world. Many people experience severe lack of energy. You feel tired even when you've slept, but this is why. Our thoughts are affecting our body. Are you catching on, my friend? This is so important. Another part to consider is that our subconscious mind is always listening to what we tell it, and it works tirelessly to make our dominant thoughts our reality. If we consistently tell ourselves, I'm depressed, our subconscious mind says, okay, let me help you be really good at being depressed, and it will find evidence to support that belief and dismiss evidence that contradicts it. I know this is not sounding good, but don't be afraid. There is a way to the light, to healing and better health, and it's just around the corner. The beautiful truth that changes everything is just as we created these pathways, we can create new ones. Your brain has what scientists call neuroplasticity, the ability to reorganize, adapt, and create new neural connections throughout your entire life. This means you're not stuck with the brain patterns you have today. There is hope. Let me take you on a journey through time to understand how depression has been viewed throughout history, because this perspective is crucial for understanding what we're really dealing with. Depression, as we understand it today, has been with humanity throughout history, but it's been called different things and understood through different lenses. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates called it melancholia, literally meaning black bile, because they believed it was caused by an imbalance of body fluids. Gross. In medieval times, it was often seen as a spiritual affliction, or acedia, which is a kind of spiritual listlessness or just not caring about anything. In the early 1900s, it was often referred to as nervous exhaustion. People would be sent to sanitariums for rest cures. What's interesting is that throughout most of history, profound sadness and despair were seen as responses to life circumstances, trauma, or spiritual struggles, not as brain diseases. The shift began in the 50s and 60s with the development of psychiatric medications. Suddenly, what had been seen as complex human responses to life challenges became simplified into a medical model focused on symptoms and pharmaceutical treatments. But here's what's truly satisfying and important. While the human experience of profound sadness and hopelessness has always existed, the rates of depression have absolutely skyrocketed in modern times. In the 60s, the lifetime risk of depression was about 1%. Today, it's estimated that nearly 20% of people will experience major depression at some point in their lives. This dramatic increase tells us something crucial. This isn't about brain chemistry or genetics. If it were simply a biological disease, we wouldn't see such a dramatic increase in just a few generations. This points to something environmental, something about how we live or how we think, how we relate to ourselves and others, and what we've learned to believe about ourselves and the world. The roots of depression often trace back to our earliest experiences and the messages we receive about our worth and place in the world. Dr. John Deloney talks about this beautifully when he explains that depression often develops when we've learned that we're not safe in the world, either physically, emotionally, or relationally. Maybe we received messages that we weren't enough, not smart enough, pretty enough, successful enough, not worthy of love just as we are. Maybe we experienced trauma or loss that taught us that the world wasn't safe and that people can't be trusted. Maybe we learned to define our worth by our external circumstances, our achievements, our appearance, other people's approval, rather than understanding our inherent, unchanging value. For many of us, these roots go deep into childhood, where we formed our core beliefs about ourselves and life itself. A child who grows up feeling like they don't fit in, like they're somehow different or wrong, often carries that wound into adulthood, where it becomes the foundation for depressive thinking patterns. Let me share a deeper piece of my heart with you, because I think my story might mirror your own in ways that could help you understand what's really happening in your mind and body when depression takes hold. Growing up, I deeply struggled with feelings like I didn't fit in with my own family. I was adopted as an infant into a large family with lots of extended family, and as I grew, I realized when I would go to family gatherings and weddings, they were all so beautiful, so slim, mostly blonde, blue-eyed, and I wasn't. I was different, with my dark hair and olive skin, brown eyes, and in my young mind, when I felt different, it meant not enough. I would look in the mirror and think things like, "You're too big, you don't look like them, something's wrong with you." I would compare myself and look at photos thinking how I stood out in ways that felt wrong. I went through times of sadness and had very low self-esteem. My thinking was so defeated and negative towards myself. What I didn't understand then is that every single time I had one of these thoughts, I was literally building neural pathways in my brain. As I explained a few minutes ago, that thoughts become embedded as physical structures in our brain. Each time I thought, "I'm not pretty enough," my brain was growing proteins to support that thought pattern, making it stronger and more automatic. Feeling of not being enough became the soundtrack of my inner world. I was constantly focused on my weight, obsessing over food, thinking nonstop about how I couldn't lose weight and how that meant I wasn't good in any way that mattered. But what was happening beneath the surface, and I couldn't see at the time, those thoughts weren't just affecting my self-esteem, they were affecting my entire physiology. The thoughts consumed me. They played like a broken record in my mind from the moment I woke up until I fell asleep. I was trapped in toxic thinking patterns, and I thought this inner dialogue was just normal, that everyone had this constant critical voice in their head. As I grew up, I managed to put aside some of this thinking. New thoughts came and went in my life, some better, but even in the back of my mind, these thoughts were still there. Maybe they sounded a little different, or other things became more important. but they would creep back and get louder throughout different periods in my life. About 10 years ago, I was having a really rough year. I felt depressed. It was a little more constant, and I didn't know what to do. I knew I didn't want medication. I wanted to find a more natural way, and I remember praying to God for help. That summer I went to camp where I used to volunteer often. My friend invited me to come and just relax. She knew I was having a rough time. A couple of days after I arrived, we were chatting, and she told me about an incredible scientist and author that had helped her a lot. So I started reading and researching her material. I could not get enough of her books that summer. And for the first time, I learned about thoughts. That they're not just random occurrences in our head, but real, physical, measurable structures in our brains with the power to change our entire biology. I was blown away, so excited. This was when I had that first aha moment, realizing that every thought I had of I'm not pretty enough or I'll never be thin enough, I wasn't just having random negative thoughts. I was literally rewiring my brain to believe these lies and creating physical changes in my body that made me feel worse and actually made it harder for my body to function optimally. Now, I had to change it. I quickly learned that I control this process. I could choose my thoughts. I could change my brain for better health, happiness, and peace. I quickly started feeling so much better. I began accepting myself for who I am. No matter what size, the color of my hair, or if someone was a better singer or a better cook, all the things that mattered to me. I stopped comparing and started loving myself because the more I changed my thinking, the more free I felt, more calm, and so much more joy. And no, it's not perfect every single day, but now I'm quick to catch myself if I start thinking a certain way or the words I speak become negative again. I'm ready with the right responses because I've practiced them for so long now. Honestly, there are days when I think I could be really sad about this certain situation, but I'm not because I've trained and practiced more positive neural pathways in my brain. It's so amazing that we can change this part of our lives. I hope you don't mind, but I just want to nerd out for a couple more minutes so you can really understand how this works. For decades, scientists believed that adult brains were actually fixed, that you got the brain you were born with and that was it. But research over the past 30 years has completely revolutionized our understanding. The discovery of neuroplasticity, the ability to reorganize, adapt, and create new neural connections, was an incredible discovery, and it changed everything. Research now shows that we can actually prune away old toxic thought trees and grow new, healthy ones. But here's the key. It requires conscious, intentional effort. Just like building muscle requires consistent exercise, building new neural pathways requires consistent mental exercise. There is another layer to understanding that I've learned about brain optimization. When we're depressed, our cognitive functions, our memory focus, our learning ability all become compromised. This creates a vicious cycle where depression makes it harder to think clearly, which makes it harder to challenge the depressive thoughts, which strengthens the depression. But research also shows that when we begin to improve our cognitive function through specific mental exercises, we actually create what is called cognitive reserve, extra mental capacity that helps us break free from automatic negative thought patterns. Another crucial element is the subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is like an incredibly powerful computer that's running programs in the background of our consciousness. These programs were installed in early life, and they're designed to keep us safe and help us belong. I mentioned this last week, how our subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's true and what's familiar. If we grew up hearing, "You're not good enough," our subconscious mind installed that as a safety program. It thinks, if I keep this person believing they're not good enough, they won't take risks, they won't put themselves out there, they won't get hurt. The beautiful part is that our subconscious mind is constantly listening to what we tell it, and it's incredibly obedient. If we keep telling it, "I'm depressed, I'm broken, nothing ever works for me," it says, "Okay, let me help you be really good at that." But when we start consciously choosing different thoughts and speaking differently to ourselves, our subconscious mind says, "Oh, we're changing programs? Great. Let me help you be really good at this new way of being." This is why the work of changing our thoughts isn't just positive thinking. It's literally rewiring our brains at the deepest level. Okay, here's my favorite part. It's tool time with Karey. Haha. Okay. Is that stupid or is that fun? Let's talk about practical tools you can use every single day to overcome depression naturally. I have some really helpful ones to share with you today. Number 1, we're going to call morning mind management. So the first hour of your day is crucial. Instead of immediately checking your phone or jumping into stressful thoughts, start with what we'll call directed rest. Take 5 to 10 minutes to consciously choose your thoughts for the day. Ask yourself, what thoughts do I want to strengthen today? What is important for me today? And who do I want to be? How can my thoughts help me? Number 2, the 21-day detox. Research shows that it takes approximately 21 days to begin dismantling a toxic thought pattern. So choose one negative thought that's been plaguing you. Maybe it's, I'll never be happy, or I'm not good enough. Every time you catch yourself thinking this thought, stop and consciously choose a replacement thought. I ask my clients to write down the most pervasive, annoying, negative, repetitive thought and write down the replacement. For example, if you're always saying, I can't do this thing, or this job, or this relationship is killing me, how about replacing it with, I'm learning and growing every day to be better at blank, and I can feel myself improving. Another way to think about this is to tell yourself a better lie. This is the time that lying is allowed. You might say, I can't, I'm not that thing, or I can't believe that will happen. Well, I promise you this will make a difference. We lie to ourselves all the time when we say bad things about ourselves, don't we? We exaggerate negative things so often. You know you do. I know I do sometimes. So how about doing the opposite? Tell a better lie. Write down at least 4 or 5 of the most common negative thoughts and keep it by your bedside or like a note on your phone. Be patient with yourself. It takes a little time and you're literally rewiring your brain. Number 3, UK's top therapist Marissa Peer is most well known for the I am enough practice. This is simple but so profound. Throughout your day, whenever you feel a familiar pang of inadequacy, I want you to stop and place your hand on your heart and say, I am enough. Your subconscious mind believes what you tell it most often with the most emotion. So say it as many times as you need to throughout the day. I am enough. Number 4 is the gratitude rewire. Before bed, I want you to write down 3 things you're grateful for. But here's the key. Write down why you're grateful for them. This activates multiple neural networks and begins building stronger pathways for appreciation and joy. And the last one today, number 5, is called body to mind connection. Depression isn't just in your head, it's in your entire body. Gentle movement, even just 10 minutes a day of walking or stretching, this changes your brain chemistry naturally. Deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system and tells your body it's safe to heal. I want to add one more important thing. I usually say this for my one-on-one sessions, but I believe the root of depression is often found in our core beliefs. Those deep, unconscious assumptions or stories we carry about ourselves, others, and life itself. These beliefs are usually formed early in life, often from repetitive experiences or messages we received, whether negative or positive. It affects our minds deeply into adulthood, and most people never question those beliefs or search where they came from. To begin to find your root, start asking yourself these questions. When did I first remember feeling not good enough? Or what did I learn about my worth as a child? What would I have needed to hear or experience to feel truly loved and accepted? Sometimes the root is a specific traumatic event, but often it's more subtle. It's the accumulation of small messages that taught us we weren't valuable just the way we are. So often these messages are straight up lies that we were told or tried to understand when we didn't know any better. Depression is often our body's way of protecting us from further hurt. Our nervous system learns to shut down emotionally as a survival mechanism. The path to freedom involves slowly teaching our nervous system that we're safe to feel again, safe to hope again, safe to believe in our own worth again. Real freedom comes when we stop trying to manage our depression and start addressing what created it in the first place. It's when we move from asking, "How do I feel better?" to asking, "What does my soul need to heal? And what is the truth that God intended for me?" Mental health isn't just the absence of depression, it's the presence of purpose, connection, and meaning. Freedom isn't just not feeling depressed, it's feeling alive, creative, connected, and purposeful. The most beautiful part of this journey is discovering that you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be understood, honored, and gently guided back to the truth of who you really are. As we wrap up today, I want you to know that if you're struggling with depression right now, you're not alone and you're not without hope. The fact that you're listening to this, that you're seeking understanding and tools for healing, tells me that somewhere inside of you, there's a part of you that still believes in the possibility of joy and peace and feeling alive again. Depression is not your identity. It's not your permanent address. It's a signal, a messenger trying to tell you something important about what you need to heal and grow. Remember, every thought you think is either building health in your brain or tearing it down. Every word you speak to yourself is either planting a seed of hope or of despair. You have more power than you know. So just start small. Start today. Choose one toxic thought and begin the process of replacing it. Your brain is waiting to support you in this healing journey. Thank you so much for tuning into Mind-Body Connection with me today. If something in this episode resonated with you, maybe there's a challenge you're facing or a breakthrough you're ready for, I'd be honored to walk with you one-on-one. I offer personalized therapy, and I also have carefully designed online courses rooted in faith, mindfulness, and real-world psychology, tailored to your unique journey. Imagine building a daily rhythm of nourishment for your mind, body, and spirit, with someone dedicated to guiding you. To take the next step, just visit me at mind-bodyconnection.ca. Yes, my website just recently changed if you have the old one. I will put a link in the show notes as always. This is where you can book a free discovery call or explore which course aligns with your journey. Healing isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's a specialized, individual process, and I'm here when you're ready. Thank you for joining me today, beautiful friend. Remember, you are enough. You are worthy of healing, and your story is still being written. Until next time, keep choosing thoughts that serve the beautiful life you're creating, and be a little kinder to yourself today.